Hey everybody, Raz here. Today I'm just going to go ahead and explain some stuff that I find mildly upsetting when it comes to Dokkan Battle and what they could easily improve on when it comes to the user experience and everything. So point on, this is not going to be a case of me discussing like the community or any other content creators like certain builds or everything. This is mostly just talking about what small things that Dokkan can do to improve the game that wouldn't even affect their bottom line profits. Because a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about are things that would not affect really the amount of money they would even earn to begin with. So, like anything discussed here, are going to be stuff that would just pertain to the user's rating and being having a more uh, positive user playtime. That's all it's going to be when it comes down to it. So let me know what you guys think of this video and all your thoughts on it. And if you find yourself agreeing or disagreeing, let me know and see if you leave a comment or subscribe. I also will be noting that I will not be talking about old issues I've brought up previously before, such as this video I made 2 months ago. I was discussing about the link system and how I find it redundant. This video is going to be separately talked about in that video. That won't be any old issues brought up. That's going to stay as is, and these are going to be three new ones that I find myself to be an issue. So the first thing I'm obviously going to talk about is the one that's on the screen right now, which is domains. I think domains should have obviously been implemented to not been so reliant on characters transforming and then just leaving it so that you have to have the entire domain's turns be played out before instantiating a new one. I think what should have been implemented was that you could have had a domain first pop up, and then on a second character, you can easily have their domain be popped up and be used instead. For example, I don't know why it's the case where I would have to choose between either having Broly's domain pop up, but then not being able to then transform either the second Broly or running Physical Goku Black in this case. Physical Goku Black is only really like his great turn is when he's in that transform state when under his own domain and everything else. So I think that having the case where you have to be limited to basically almost 12 to 16 turns where you have to wait until you can see like one character's domain is finished, then you can pop the other character's domain, and then you can pop the other character's domain as well, because it's incredibly weird how they almost even time gated the domain chance to be even procced, and then also time gated the domain itself to not be overwritten. So you have to wait 4 turns or like 5 turns with either 5 Goku Black or Broly. Then you get 4 turns you have to wait for in that state while they're on their domain, and then be able to pop up another one. Which it should have been the case where you could just pop one, get the other one, and get the other character who has that, pop theirs, and then keep the character who you want to have in that rotation. Because I think a lot of people will want to obviously have the full power Broly since he's better in that state and doesn't lose his entrance animation, versus Physical Goku Black, who needs to be in his transformed state to really dish a lot of the damage and a lot of the potential that he has in that state in the first place. Because he Rainbow Orb changes, he helps himself launch additional attacks and be able to build up to a crazy amount of defense from this plus this part of his passive. So I think Dokkan being should have implemented this. I think very soon right now. I'm very surprised that they did not playtest this when they were testing out characters, because if you had recently gone onto Twitter or recently gone onto like I think the Truth's Q&A with Q&A review over what the dev said for the ninth anniversary. They mentioned that characters take around 8 months to implement, to get the animations and get the voice in. So I think that this should have been a thing that they should have caught on early and been able to update in that regard. But this is here right now. We're hoping to see if this will be obviously updated as soon as Worldwide Download Celebration comes with a sync, or obviously during the 10th anniversary. I'm hoping that the 10th anniversary is a big revamp of the game, in hopes that in a similar fashion to what Dragon Ball Heroes is in regards to it transitioning into a different game as well. I'm hoping that the 10th anniversary, the big decade, is going to give the game a big, fresh new coat of paint. Also, just to clarify and give you the time scale of how long Dokkan is, the 3DS originally, like the first original 3DS released at the same time the game came out. It's been that long. And now we're in the Switch era where the Switch is almost ending and the Switch 2 is coming. Crazy thing, isn't it? Alright. Now the second point I'm probably going to break. Ooh, I don't want. You guys have already seen now what my main point is. But I think one of the biggest problems that Dokkan has right now when it comes down to it is the hidden potential system, and just the fact that you don't have the option to really change the nodes later on when a character has to do his easy A's. The main thumbnail of this video is a reference to Truth's build the True TT's build on Topo, which referenced the fact that he runs a full dodge build since he reduces damage received by 80%, but loses it as he gets attacks received. So my problem has always been the fact that if Truth may build his dodge build right now and be able to run it as well, but then if there was a case where what if Topo himself gets built with a full 100% dodge? Like this is just a hypothetical, but if Topo's EZA in like 2028 comes out and he had a 75% chance or a 100% chance to dodge the do dodging on his first appearance as the God of Destruction, would you still run the build for him as full dodge in that instance? Maybe so, maybe not. And so the choice of being able to change those hidden potential nodes should be a viable option for all players when a character gets through an extreme Esteem Awakening. For example, the Super Saiyan 3 Goku, if we were to go back into his case right here, I think he's on. What would be the fastest way to go about it? So we would go into transformation boost, I assume. We would easily go into. He's a movie hero, right? So then movie heroes, and then we would go into his Extreme Z Awakening right here, if that ever pops up. Oh, looks like they don't record that. Or, here, let me just do. I don't see it right here. We have to scroll all the way to the bottom and then go all the way from the top, bottom up approach for this. So movie hero Goku, Super Saiyan 3. No, right here. So like in this case, pre-EZA and then before, he only had 100% attack, and then on EZA he got his critical chance. Well, on Super EZA he got a critical chance, and now gives a guaranteed crit on the first turn. You probably would want it so that you would put additionals on him versus not having additionals on him because of how old he was and how what the time contemporary he was. I think that Dokkan should be giving you the chance of restructuring those optional nodes in those instances, and plus even changing those node. Okay, back in 2016, I think 2018, I think this was during the time when it was first still like being decided on for the nodes. It cost 10 dragon stones and there's 7 optional nodes. So you have to spend 70 dragon stones in this case just to change the character's build and being able to use it now. They since lowered it down to 5 per hidden potential system, but just because it's 5 right now, the thing is that Dokkan stone prices have also just risen up as over the years just to make sure that they keep up with inflation. And the problem is that nowadays you'll see content creators say that one multi is equivalent to around 30 USD dollars. USD. So if you were to do the math and have this, so that's 5 times 7 optional nodes, which is 35, and then divided by essentially 50 dragon stones over $30 is over around 5 dragon stones per $3. That's equivalent to almost around $21 worth just to change one character's hidden potential build. So it costs $21 just to change one character when they get their EZA, which I think is not going to be a lot of what people are going to spend on. Not a lot of free-to-play players. I don't think even a lot of Dolphin players would, like Dolphin people who play the game, are going to usually spend that much just to change a character. It's only going to likely be characters who are like players who are like whales who are going to sit there and actually give the time to spend this money and then be able to change it. And I don't think Dokkan is really making a profit or like a good 100,000 or like a good amount of money to really justify like the time gate on this, essentially, because a lot of players are not going to sit there and openly change their stones for one hidden potential when they can use those almost 35 dragon stones for a next multi on either like the anniversary or worldwide download celebration. So it's almost a waste of time just to like do this in this aspect, and you would just rather make it so that like upon each EZA you could just do this free. In fact, you could just keep this as it is. It's just that on EZAs or upon super EZAs, you're given the character choice to be like, hey, do you want to sit there and refresh your build? I think that would be great for the user experience in regards to that. Dokkan will still relatively keep characters when people they take their EZA build, realize their build was wrong, and then go ahead and change it with the money. I think that's still fine in that regard. I just think that when characters get super EZAs or EZAs, they should just be given a option to have their essentially build kit all reworked and given the chance to redo it. I think that would be fair for people to do so, and being able to allow players a lot more flexibility in the way that they can replay the game instead of having to sit there and pull 7 AGL Super Saiyan 3 Gokus who's not even on any longer any Dokkan Fest banner. He's only on literally the banner that comes during Worldwide with the celebration tickets, and that's all. Otherwise, you have to wait for him inside the either on regular weird banners or back in the shop where you spend 150 coins. And most people are just saving those coins and stuff for big LRs and everything. All right. Now the third last point is mostly just Dokkan Storage, and Dokkan Storage has way too much for what the game is supposed to be. It's a card collecting game where most of its size issues and matters are coming from each character having 3 to 4, like 5 different arts, the unique background that the character has, such as like their OSC, their BGM, and all that stuff, and the audio that they have for the characters. And so that adds up to a lot of space that gets taken up on the storage account. However, the problem is they store the HD quality versions of them in the storage of the game, but then use a lot lower resolution in the game, which means that they essentially take up a lot more space than what they're really using from that space inside of the game. If they're using a 1080 quality, that 1080 quality could pick up around a gigabyte. The 360 one would probably take up around 300 megabytes, probably 3 times as less, and you would still be running into the issue where you're essentially losing a lot of your own space to issues that are not supposed to be like this. Like, if Dokkan's reaching the point where I think on my phone it's like 16 gigabytes, I think the option should be that there's a case where you can ask the option to do original or like a LITE mode, where essentially it reduces the size and the quality of what essentially is the audio, the BGM, and also the art. In exchange, you get to have a less size for the game itself. And I think a lot of people would be completely fine with this idea and be willing to do so. Like, make it a toggle in the settings where you can essentially lower the possibility for it. Dokkan already does the thing where it allows you to do a power saving mode where you basically can save your animation and essentially don't have to waste too much of your animation capabilities. I'm very surprised that they not have implemented original versus LITE mode feature, like such as games such as Nintendo's old mobile game Dragaea Lost, or even their Fire Emblem game. And the Fire Emblem game, shout out to SageMaster by the way for this video, by the way. He showcases a whole video where they talk about original mode and LITE mode, and the audio quality is completely different. There's a slight change in the terms of the quality of the image, where you can see a little bit of the detailing going away, but you can still look from like a faraway distance at the image still looks the same. And this basically almost reduces the entire game size for Fire Emblem from like I think it's like 15 gigabytes down to 75% of it to like 5 or 3. And I think that option like that for Dokkan would really work, since Dokkan already themselves don't use the HD quality of the games, and you can just then lower it down to actually a lot more feasible for other old game methods and everything like that. It's almost like the game itself could have just easily implemented like this for Dokkan devs, and the community would have been perfectly fine with this. I don't see why this is a lot of a contentious point in the Dokkan community about like, oh, we should have it always like the storage be this big as it is. Like, people will draw comparisons to Genshin Impact, but like Genshin Impact as a game is about a 3D world that you have to explore. The game has to be high quality wise, whereas this is more of a collection game. So the art should be having a toggle option that allows you to essentially reduce the size of it to begin with. I think that Dokkan implementing a sort of same script that will allow you to do this would be fine, because then you can sit there, wait for the download to be complete, that reduces the size, and then you can go ahead your way with a 2 to 3 gigabyte, size game for Dokkan. I don't think it's too bad of an idea to have that be an implementation wise. And I think that this would basically almost help a lot of the community, because then the community wouldn't have to worry about playing games or having to buy a bigger phone just to play the Dokkan, because then they could just sit there and be like, okay, I can play this on my 32 or my 64 iPhone, or like my 8-bit 8 gigabyte size Android. I think this is just something that's small, but like would massively improve the game's quality and the user's interaction with the game itself. And these are mainly the 3 things I get concerned about when it comes to this game, because I feel like these are things that are been implemented by other gacha games that clearly are playtesting or like knowing like what the community wants from their like options, and I feel like Dokkan could easily get these, implement this as a feature, and improve the quality of life of the game that it is. I'm hoping that 10th anniversary does include the option to do storage issue, where they can the storage feature, where then they can implement it by giving a LITE mode that I can then download, place it, and then be able to use it as that feature right now on global. I'm hoping that when it comes to the 10th anniversary that easy A's and super easy A's will now be having to give you the option to the hidden potential change and everything. Like I remember like a lot of people right now I think they're super Gogeta and like Int Janemba. Like Super Gogeta, a lot of people put crit on it because back in the first and second anniversary, uh, well actually I think it's second and third anniversary because five physical Vegito Blue was the one who introduced the hidden potential system, but it was during that time that a lot of people focused on crit because crit was a very massive focus during the first anniversary, during the first or third anniversary meta. And so if we go to the 10th anniversary, Gogeta gets a super easy A, and then he ends up having like if Gogeta ends up having his Gogeta has a ends up having his super easy and he gets like full crit in his kit. Your full crit build is now basically useless ever since you had him for like past what 8 years of the game's lifespan. I feel like that's not really possible considering that he doesn't release or return back on banners a lot besides being on the Redstone kit. And even then, like I think SSJ3 even himself got like taken out of the Redstone kit for the first time when he got his first Super EZA. So I feel like this should be a case where like it shouldn't be a big issue. And then finally on domains, again, like I think that domains should have the option or the opportunity to be overwritable, just not stackable. I don't think it should be stackable, but I think it should be overwritable. And that's all my thoughts on when it comes to this game. And I'm hoping that Dokkan does something when it comes down to it during at least by the end of the 10th anniversary. But yeah, that's essentially all my thoughts when it comes down to like what the three things that are upsetting me the most about Dokkan. Let me know if these are thoughts that you ever thought about these three aspects. Have you ever felt them yourself? Have you ever felt like oh maybe Dokkan should have lower storage and everything like that? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you like the video, drop in like a subscribe and share this around. That way people can also have a discussion about this sort of topic and we can easily see like what people's thoughts are on this for the community. All right, guys. You all take care of yourself, and you all have a good one. Say, drink water right now. In fact, I'm going to take a sip right now. And you all take care of yourself.